and drifted through the darkness of space like a metal giant searching for seats. Its hull gleamed under distant starlight as scanning rays swept across the empty void. Commander stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes focused on the holographic display before him. For 3 months, his crew had found nothing but dead rocks and frozen gas in this forgotten corner of the "Commander, I have something unusual," said of the ships. Her scales rippled with excitement as she manipulated the scanner controls. "There are electromagnetic signatures coming from the third planet in system J7749. Close to her station. The Galactic Confederation had marked the region as a restricted zone thousands of years ago. No one remembered why anymore. The old records called it a sector, a place where nothing civilized could possibly survive. "What kind of signatures?" asked. Pulled up the data on her screen. "Radio waves, microwave transmissions, and something else. Nuclear energy readings. Commander, there is an advanced civilization down there." Bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to look at the display. A blue and green planet rotated slowly on the screen, wrapped in swirling white clouds. It looked beautiful and peaceful from this distance. "Cannot be right," said the ship's security officer. "Nothing lives in zones. The gravity is too strong. The weather is too violent. The bacteria alone would kill most species in the Confederation." Shook her head. "The scans do not lie. Look at this." She enhanced the image, and the crew gasped. Thousands of artificial satellites orbited the planet in organized patterns. Lights covered the dark side of the world, marking massive cities. They have orbital infrastructure. They have global communications. They have split the atom. The chill run through his body. "How long have they been broadcasting?" "The signals I can detect are about 100 standard cells old," replied. "But Commander, there's more. The planet shows evidence of recent global conflict. Nuclear detonations, chemical weapons, massive conventional warfare. It happened only 70 cycles ago." "And they survived?" asked in disbelief. "Did more than survive," said quietly. "They rebuilt. They went from global war to space stations in less than a century. Commander, I have never seen technological advancement that rapid." But at the plant, something felt wrong about this discovery. The Confederation had explored the galaxy for 50,000 years. They knew every civilized species, every advanced cult. How had that one remained hidden? "Pull up the old restriction files," ordered. "I want to know why the sector was marked as forbidden." His computer worked for several minutes before responding. "Restriction files are sealed. Council authorization required for access." Made even more nervous. In all his years of service, he had never encountered sealed files. The Confederation believed in open information and shared knowledge. "Course for the asteroid belt," he commanded. "We will establish an observation post and gather more data before reporting this." Ryzen moved deeper into the system, hiding among the tumbling rocks that circled between the 4th and 5th planets. From this position, they could monitor the blue world without being detected. The next few days, I compiled a detailed report. The species called themselves humans. They lived on a planet they named Earth. Their world was indeed a nightmare by Confederation standards. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere contained high levels of oxygen, a dangerously reactive gas. The surface temperature swung wildly between frozen wastelands and baking depths. Massive storms raged across the oceans with enough force to flatten cities. Tectonic plates shifted constantly, creating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The humans thrived in this hell. "Everywhere," I reported to in his private quarters. "Every continent, every client zone. They live in the frozen poles and the burning deserts. They build cities on fault lines and in hurricane zones. When disaster strikes, they simply rebuild and continue." "What about their biology?" asked. "Look up genetic scans. They are carbon-based, bipedal, remarkably resilient. Their bodies can survive in temperature ranges that would kill most Confederation species. They can go without food for 30 days, without water for 7. Their immune systems fight off diseases constantly. Commander, their children play in the same gravity that would cripple a war." The images of humans going about their daily lives. They looked fragile with soft skin and no natural armor. But it was right. They moved through their deadly world as if it were paradise. "Something else," said hesitantly. "They are deliberately broadcasting their location to space. They sent probes beyond their system with maps showing exactly where their planet is located. They put recordings of their music, images of their world, and methods of greeting. Commander, they are trying to find us." "It's foolish," muttered. "They have no idea what dangers exist in the galaxy." "Perhaps they do not fear them," as suggested. Captain Pierce slowed through the International Space Station, checking equipment readings. He had been in orbit for 3 months, and something had been bothering him for the past week. Small things kept going wrong. Sensors flickered. Communications crackled with interference. Nothing major, but enough to notice. His ISS spoke into his headset. "I'm getting unusual readings on the external sensors again. Can you run a diagnostic?" "That ISS," came the reply from Earth. "We show everything normal on our end, might be solar activity." Convinced, but he moved on with his duties. Far below, Dr. Lisa Monroe sat in her office at the Deep Space Observatory in California. She stared at her computer screen, frowning at the data. For 2 weeks, she had been tracking gravitational anomalies near Jupiter. They appeared and disappeared well. "Makes no sense," she whispered to herself. "Gravity does not just fluctuate randomly." Ran the calculations again, but the results stayed the same. Something was out there, something big enough to create measurable gravitational effects. She picked up her phone and called her supervisor. "Need telescope time?" she said. "I think I found something near Jupiter." Lisa made her request. Commander finished reading his complete report. His hands trembled slightly as he activated the quantum communicator. This discovery was too important to delay. "Already transmission to Confederation Council," he said. "Urgent classification." It would take 3 days to reach the council, hatch all of A's data, and include his own observations. He ended the report with a simple statement. "We have discovered an unknown advanced species in the Forbidden Zone. Recommend immediate council action." Days later, the council chamber on the Confederation erupted in chaos. The 12 species that governed galactic civilization gathered in emergency session. They watched the footage of Earth in stunned silence. An oldest member of the council raised his hand for quiet. His species had been part of the Confederation since its founding. He had served on the council for 2,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall, but the fear in his ancient eyes made every other council member go cold. "Lock the sealed files in," commanded. "Authorization enough 1, priority override." The computer hesitated, something it never did. Then files began appearing on every council member's display. Documents sealed for 50,000 years, archaeological reports, genetic samples, battle reports, warnings written in a dozen dead languages. Read through them slowly while the council weighed. Finally, he looked up at the others. His voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard him clearly. "Found the progenitor world," he said. "The humans have returned." The observation post near Jupiter, a continued scanning Earth, unaware of the panic spreading through the council chamber. She watched human children playing in parks, workers building towers of steel and glass, scientists launching rockets in space. They seemed so innocent, so curious about the universe. Wondered what the council would decide. Would they make contact? Would they welcome Earth into the galactic community? It seemed like the obvious choice. No idea that deep in the council archives, ancient warnings spoke of a species that refused to die, that fought until nothing remained, that turned there into a fortress and themselves into legends. All's final line had been written 50,000 years ago in a language almost forgot. "Never corner a human. Never threaten their young. Never assume you have one. They are the reason we learn to fear." She was about to remember why. The Confederate Council chamber had never been so tense. Eldarin stood before the massive holographic display, which showed image after image of ruins scattered across the galaxy. Ancient cities on dead worlds. Broken weapons that still hummed with power after 50,000 years. Monuments to species that had simply vanished. "So they're all connected to Earth?" asked Council Member, her voice filled with disbelief. She was young by Council standards, only 300 years old, and had never heard these stories. And confirmed, he manipulated the display, bringing up genetic comparisons. "We found these ruins on 247 worlds across 3 spiral arms. We collected biological samples from each site. The DNA matched the humans on Earth exactly." "It's impossible," said General, the military commander of the Confederation forces. His species had evolved from pack hunters, and his instincts were screaming danger. "How could one species spread across such distances 50,000 years ago? Our own civilization has only been spacefaring for 30,000 years." Brought up more files. According to the archaeological evidence, they had faster light travel before we developed fire. They built cities on airless moons. They terraformed hostile worlds. And then, without warning, they abandoned everything and disappeared. Members studied the data in silence. The evidence was overwhelming. Whoever the ancient humans had been, they had possessed technology far beyond anything the Confederation currently used. "What happened to them?" asked her. "They went extinct," and replied. "Every analysis suggested a sudden collapse, plague, civil war, or cosmic disaster. The ruins showed no signs of battle. They simply left everything behind and vanished." He paused, his old eyes sad. "Now we know the truth. They went home. They returned to Earth and started." "Would an advanced spacefaring civilization abandon technology and regress?" demanded. Pulled up the final document in the archive. It was a message carved into stone on an abandoned colony world, written in ancient human language. The Confederation's best linguists had spent centuries translating. "Traveled far and seen much," and read aloud. "We have conquered worlds and bent nature to our will, but in our reach for the stars, we lost ourselves. We became conquerors when we wished to be explorers. We brought fear when we sought to bring knowledge. The galaxy is not ready for us, and we are not ready for it. We turn to our beginning. We will wait. When the stars are ready, we will be there. Until then, let the others go." Chamber fell completely silent. Every member understood the implications. The ancient humans had not fallen. They had chosen to return to Earth and restart their civilization from nothing. They had waited 50,000 years for the galaxy to mature. "Now they are almost ready to return to space," said quietly. "In a few generations, they will have faster-than-light travel again. They will spread across the galaxy just as they did before." "Were you afraid?" asked another council member. Pulled up the military analysis files. The archaeological evidence shows they were not conquerors by nature. They built in harmony with local ecosystems. They left gifts of knowledge on primitive worlds, but when threatened, he trailed off, opening a battle report. Graham showed a reconstruction of an ancient conflict. A hostile alien fleet had attacked a human colony world. The humans had been outnumbered 10-1. The report estimated the battle should have lasted 3 hours. Lasted 14 days. Humans fought with a ferocity that the analysts still could not fully explain. They used damaged ships as weapons. They turned civilian vessels into bombs. When their fleet was destroyed, they fought on the ground. When their cities fell, they fought in the ruins. They refused every surrender offer. By the end, both sides were nearly extinct, but the humans won. Left a warning beacon at the site and said, "It broadcasts in every known language. The message is simple. We do not start fights, we finish them." Earth Pierce was having a terrible morning. The sensor glitches on the International Space Station had gotten worse overnight. Equipment was failing for no reason. The computers were detecting objects in orbit that should not be there, then losing them moments later. "Then we have a serious problem up here," roared. "I'm getting phantom readings all over the place. Either our systems are completely failing or something is out here with us." In mission control, the team ran every diagnostic they could think of. Everything checked out perfect, but was right. The readings made no sense. "Says we are seeing the same anomalies," Houston replied. "We are bringing in the Space Force to analyze. Stand by." Deep Space Observatory, Lisa Monroe had finally gotten her telescope time. She pointed the massive instrument toward Jupiter and waited for the image to come through. When they appeared on her screen, her coffee mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Was something near Jupiter, something big, something that definitely was not supposed to be there. Grabbed her phone with shaking hands and called her supervisor again. "You need to come to my office right now and bring security clearance. We have visitors." 2 hours, Lee's discovery had reached the highest levels of government. The President of the United States, Helen Foster, sat in the Situation Room beneath the White House, staring at the enhanced images. Military advisors surrounded her, all talking at once. "President, we need to assume hostile intent," said General Jake Rivers, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. "That object is clearly artificial and clearly not ours." "Need to assume nothing," Helen replied calmly. "Get me every astronomer and physicist we have. Get me the Secretary General of the United Nations, and find out if anyone else has seen this." It was yes. Observatories around the world had been tracking the anomalies for weeks. China had satellite footage. Russia had radar data. The European Space Agency had spectral analysis. When the world's leaders compared notes, the conclusion was unfolded. It was not alone. The session of the United Nations Security Council lasted 18 hours. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in New York to discuss the greatest discovery in human history. Martin Cross, the Secretary General, led the meeting with said calm. "Need to make a decision," Mart said. "Do we attempt contact or do we wait for them to contact us?" "Should wait," said the Chinese ambassador. "We have no idea what their intents are." "Have been watching us for weeks," the Russian ambassador countered. "If they wanted to harm us, they would have already." "They are studying us before they strike," the American ambassador added. Debate raged on while Leah Monroe was rushed to New York under armed escort. She stood before the Security Council and presented her findings. The object near Jupiter was definitely a ship. It was approximately 2 kilometers long. It was broadcasting electromagnetic signals, but nothing humans could discern. "What advanced are they?" Martin asked. So took a deep breath. "They crossed interstellar space to get here. That puts them decades, maybe centuries ahead of us technologically." "We have no choice," Jake Rivers said grimly. "We cannot fight them if they are hostile. We need to try diplomacy." The Confederation Council chamber, the debate was just as heated. Wanted to establish a permanent quarantine around Earth. "We cannot allow them to leave their system," he argued. "If they regain their old technology, they could dominate the galaxy." "They could be valuable allies," countered. "The ancient humans helped primitive species develop. They shared knowledge freely. Perhaps these humans will be the same." "So they will not," snapped. "Are you willing to bet the entire Confederation on your optimism?" Raised his hand for silence. "I propose we send a small diplomatic mission to Earth. One ship, no weapons. We will make peaceful contact and judge their intentions directly." At his suicide, protested. "I volunteer," said quietly. "I will go to Earth and speak with the humans. If they are as dangerous as you fear, it does not matter if we contact them or not. They will find us eventually. Better to meet them on terms of peace than to wait for conflict." Vote. By a narrow margin, A's mission was approved. She would take her personal diplomatic veil to Earth and attempt first contact. Vote against it, his face dark with anger. "My words," said as a prayer to leave. "This will end in war. The humans may have forgotten what they are, but we have not. They are apex predators from us. They cannot be anything else." Did not reply. She boarded her ship and set course for Earth, howling desperately that was wrong. The horizon watched her centers in confusion. Commander, I am detecting another ship entering the system. It is broadcasting Confederation identification codes. Diplomatic vessel. Said in his native language. They sent a contact mission without telling us. He opened communications. Diplomatic Vel, this is the horizon. What are your orders? His face appeared on the screen. I am Ambassador. I have been authorized by the Council to make first contact with the humans. You will provide all data you have collected and maintain your position. Do not interfere. Ambassador, I must protest, began. Protest is noted, Commander. Cut him off. But the decision has been made. The humans need to know they are not alone. The ship moved toward Earth. The galaxy held its breath. On Earth, every military in the world went on high alert. Telescopes tracked the approaching battle. Fighter jets scrambled. Naval fleets moved into position. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries. But the dream was becoming real, and no one knew if it would be a dream or a nightmare. Monroe stood in the observation center, watching the approaching ship on her screens. They are broadcasting, she said. Simple mathematical sequences, primes, pi, basic physics. They want to talk. Cross stood beside her. Then we talk. Broadcast our response. Let them know we understand. Ambassador A's ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a silver needle peering blue silk. She had chosen Iceland for the landing site. The country was neutral, remote, and had agreed to host the historic meeting. As her veil settled onto the prepared landing pad outside Reykjavik, she could see thousands of human soldiers surrounding the aircraft and weapons. She did not recognize all pointed at her ship. Afraid, she whispered to her elf. Good, fear means caution, caution means they will listen. The bridge of the U.S. carrier positioned offshore, Jake Rivers watched the alien ship through binoculars. Every instinct he had developed over 30 years of military service told him that it was a trap. But orders were orders. The president wanted peaceful contact, and so peaceful contact they would. Units hold position, Jake commanded over the radio. Do not fire unless fired upon, do not approach unless ordered, stay sharp. Cross stood in the center of the designated meeting area, flanked by translators, scientists, and security personnel. Leah Monroe was there, her hands shaking with excitement and terror. Pierce had been brought down from the space station specifically for that moment. The president had decided the first contact team should include people who had seen the evidence with their own eyes. Ship's door opened with a hiss of pressurized air, stepped out into the cold Icelandic wind and immediately stumbled. Earth's gravity hit her like a physical blow. She had prepared for this, trained in high-gravity environments, but the reality was far worse than simulation. Each step felt like climbing a mountain. Forced herself to walk forward with dignity, even though her legs screamed in protest. She wore a translation device on her chest that would convert her words into human languages. As she approached the waiting humans, she raised both hands to show she held no weapon. And Cross stepped forward, all raising his hands. Welcome to Earth, he said slowly. We come in peace. Elation device processed his words and understood. She felt relief wash over her. Thank you, she replied. I am Ambassador of the Galactic Confederation. I bring greetings from the civilized species of the galaxy. 3 hours, the two sides talked. I explained the Confederation, carefully avoiding any mention of humanity's ancient past. She described a galaxy filled with peaceful cooperation and scientific advance. She spoke of thousands of species working together to explore and understand the universe. Listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes. Leah Monroe provided scientific input, while Pierce offered observations from his time watching space. Jake Rivers remained silent, but his eyes never left. Offer of friendship is welcome, Mart said eventually. Humanity has long hoped to find others among the stars. We would be honored to join your Confederation. Felt a surge of hope. Perhaps had been wrong. Perhaps these humans were different from their ancient ancestors. There will be a process, she explained. Your world must meet certain requirements. You must demonstrate peaceful intentions and technological maturity. Can do that, Martin assured her. We have our problems, but humanity is united in wanting to be part of the larger galactic community. The next week, I met with leaders from every nation on Earth. She toured cities and met scientists. She was amazed by human art, moved by human music, and fascinated by human literature. These people did not seem like the terrifying warriors described in ancient texts. They seemed curious, creative, and eager to learn. Monroe spent hours showing her Earth's astronomical research. We have been searching for you for so long, Lee said excitedly. We sent probes beyond our solar system with methods of peace. We broadcast radio signals into space. We built telescopes to find other civilizations. We're not afraid of what you might find, I asked. Smiled. Of course we were afraid, but we were more excited than afraid. The universe is too big for Earth to be alone. Found herself genuinely liking these humans. Yes, they came from a brutal world. Yes, their history was filled with conflict, but they had also created beauty in art and philosophy. They had overcome their violent past and built a global civilization dedicated to peace. Began composing her report to the Council, recommending full diplomatic relations and fast-track admission to the Confederation. These humans deserved a chance to join the galactic community. And everything went wrong. Stress signal came from the moon. Humanity had established a small mine colony there, operated by an international consortium. 200 people lived and worked in the lunar habitat, extracting rare minerals for use on Earth. Attack came without warning. Rivers was in his office at the Pentagon when the alert came through. Sir, we are receiving an emergency transmission from Lunar Base Alpha. They report incoming hostile craft. Blood turned to ice. Get me visual confirmation. Scramble everything we have. Contact the ambassador immediately. Screen, the footage from the moon showed 3 Confederate warships descending on the mine base. They opened fire with energy weapons, slicing through the habitat models like paper. The base's emergency shields held for 40 seconds before collapsing. Sphere vented in space. People died by the dozens. Communications officer on the moon managed to send one final message before the transmission cut off. Multiple civilian casualties. Women and children dead. They are killing everyone. God help us. Cross burst into A's quarters without knocking. The ambassador looked up in surprise from her report. Martin, what is wrong? People just attacked our moon base, Martin said, his voice carefully controlled despite the fury in his eyes. 47 people did so far. 15 of them were children. Felt her world collapse? No, that is impossible. We would never. Video footage, Martin interrupted. He showed her his tablet. The images were undeniable. Confederation warships, Confederation weapons, human bodies floating in the vacuum of space. Watch in horror. This was not authorized. The Council would never prove an attack. Martin, you must believe me. This is not what we are. Who is it? Martin demanded. Accessed her communication device with trembling hands. She sent an emergency signal to the Confederation Council, demanding an explanation. The response came quickly, too quickly. Earl's face appeared on the screen. His expression showed no remorse. Ambassador, you are recalled to Confederation space immediately. Your mission is terminated. What have you done? A breath. Those were civilians. There were children. We're humans, replied coldly. The Council's decision to make contact was a mistake. I am correcting it. You will return now, or you will be considered a traitor. Council authorize this? I asked in disbelief. Majority of the Council has reconsidered our position, said. The humans are too dangerous to allow in space. They must be contained on their planet until we can determine proper protocols. Murdering their children? A shout. Showing them the consequences of reaching too far, answered, "Come home, Ambassador, that is in order." The mission ended, turned to Martin, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I thought we were better than this. I thought we had evolved beyond such cruelty." His face was stone. "You have 72 hours to surrender the commanders responsible for the attack. If you do not, Earth will consider itself at war with the Confederation." "Martin, please, this was not sanctioned by." "2 hours," Martin repeated. "And Ambassador, get off our planet. You are no longer welcome here." Led to her ship as riots broke out across Earth. Humans had welcomed the aliens with hope and friendship, and the aliens had responded by killing their children. The anger was immediate and universal. Volunteered to return to the space station to monitor alien activity. Jake Rivers took command of all Earth defense forces, hastily assembled from every nation's military. Lita Monroe worked around the clock to analyze the alien weapons and find weaknesses. And Helen Foster addressed the world. "We reach out in peace," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "We offered friendship to the stars. They answered with murder. They killed our people. They killed our children." She paused, comboing herself. "We will not accept this. We will not forgive this. Earth stands united. If they want war, we will give them war." But around Jupiter assembled his fleet. He had the Warhawk faction of the Council and gathered 200 warships. Some Council members protested, but most were too afraid to oppose him. "Humans are already preparing to fight," his second-in-command reported. "They are moving military assets in space. They are fortifying their plan." "Of course they are," said. "They are predictable, they are primitive, and they are about to learn why the Confederation rules the galaxy." The communication channel to Earth, when Martin Cross appeared on the screen, did not let him speak. "I'm General of the Confederation Defense Forces. You have been judged a threat to galactic peace. Surrender your planet and submit to Confederation authority or be destroyed." Martin's response was simple: "Come and try. You have 20 of your crude spacecraft. I have 200 warships that have 1,000 worlds. This will not be a battle, it will be an extermination." "See," Martin said quietly. Then he delivered humanity's answer, words that would echo through the galaxy for generations. "You came to our home, you killed our people, you murdered our children. There will be no surrender, there will be no retreat, there will be no mercy. You want to see what humans are capable of. Welcome to Earth." The mission ended, laughed. "They are brave, I will give them that, but bravery means nothing against superior firepower." He turned to his fleet commanders. "Set course for Earth, prepare for total war." Jake Rivers gathered his commanders. "They have numbers and technology," he acknowledged, "but they have never fought humans before. They have never seen what desperation and rage can accomplish. They think this is about conquest." He looked each officer in the eye. "They are wrong. This is about survival, and there is nothing more dangerous than a human fighting to survive." Floated in the space station, watching the alien fleet approach on his sensors. He knew he would probably die in the coming battle. He made his peace with that. He recorded a message for his family back on Earth. "I not know if I will survive what is coming," he said to the camera. "But I want you to know I am not afraid. They think we are weak because we are small. They think we are primitive because we are young. They are about to learn the hardest lesson in the galaxy. You do not attack humanity and walk away. Not ever. I love you all. And I promise you this, whatever happens to me, Earth will survive. We arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Broadcast one final demand for surrender. Human the Confederation fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system in a display of overwhelming force. 200 warships spread across space in perfect military formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, capable of redoing a city to Athens. Roll stood on the bridge of his flagship, satisfaction evident in his expression. "Scan the system. Locate all human military assets." Tactical officer worked quickly. "Sir, I detect 30 human spacecraft. They are clustered around their planet and moon. 20 are armed vessels, 12 appear to be converted civilian craft." 2 against 200 mused. "They must be insane to resist." He opened a communication channel. "Human forces, this is your final warning. Power down your weapons and submit to Confederation authority. You have 1 hour to comply." Bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship. Jake Rivers listened to the transmission with cold fury. His ship was a converted cargo hauler, barely armed with experimental weapons. Most of Earth's fleet consisted of similar vessels. Humanity had never prepared for space warfare because they had never believed they would need to. It was about to change. "Ships, this is Rivers," Jake broadcast on the command frequency. "They are going to kill us, probably, but before we die, we are going to make them pay for every inch of space. We are going to make them remember this day for the rest of their lives. Earth is behind us. Our families are behind us. The monsters who killed our children are in front of us. Show them what happens when you threaten him." Our past intense silence. When ultimatum expired, he gave the order to attack. Federation fleet advanced in waves, entered weapons charter. They expected the humans to break formation and flee. They expected panic and chaos. Instead, the human ships accelerated directly toward the alien fleet. "Are charting us," tactical officer said in disbelief. "Sir, they must know they cannot win." Our primitives replied. "They do not understand modern warfare. Destroy them." A salvo of alien weapons fire lit up space like a lightning storm. Energy beams designed to pierce military-grade shields tore through human vessels. 5 ships exploded immediately. 7 more sustained critical damage. But the humans did not retreat. Rivers watched his tactical display as ships under his command died. Each explosion represented dozens of his people, but he kept his voice steady. "All ships evasive pattern Delta, your squadron is up." Above the battlefield, Pierce piloted an experimental fighter craft that had been rushed through development. It was fast, maneuverable, and carried a payload that terrified even the humans who built it. "This Pierce squad, form up on me. We are going for the big one." Squadron of 12 fighters dove into the chaos. Alien point defense systems opened fire, tracking the small craft with lethal precision. 3 fighters disintegrated under the barrage. The remaining 9 pressed forward. "You're not going to make it," one of the pilots said over the radio. "Do not need to make it," replied. "We just need to get close enough." It was wove through a storm of weapons fire, moving in patterns no sane pilot would attempt. The maneuvers generated G-forces that would kill most Confederation species. Human pilots, evolved on a planet with crying gravity, gritted their teeth and flew through their pain. It took a glancing hit that vaporized his left wing. The craft spiraled out of control, but he fought the spin and kept flying. His targeting computer locked on his flagship. He armed his payload. A nuclear warhead, one of the weapons the Confederation had banned centuries ago, is too barbaric for civilized warfare. "It's for the children," whispered. He launched the missile and then his fire exploded around him. The warhead streaked toward the flagship. Watch in horror as his sensors identified the primitive weapon. Shields to maximum, evasive action. Late, the warhead detonated. The fire consumed the flagship shields and scorched its hull. The massive vessel reeled from the impact, systems failing across multiple decks, was thrown to the floor as gravity fluctuated wildly. "And report," he shouted. "It's at 30%. Hull breach is on deck 7 through 12. Main weapons offline. Sir, they use nuclear weapons against it. If weapons are banned, gassed. The radiation, the indiscriminate destruction, they are savages." "You're effective," his tactical officer corrected quietly. The battlefield, human ships pressed their attack with suicidal determination. When their weapons ran dry, they rammed alien vessels. When their engines failed, they used maneuvering thrusters to turn themselves into projectiles. One damaged human ship, its crew already dead from decompression, was piloted by its sole survivor directly into a Confederation cruiser. Both ships vanished. Monroe watched the battle from her command center on Earth, tears streaming down her face. Each loss was personal. She knew many of these people. They were colleagues, friends, heroes volunteering to die so humanity might survive. Cannot win the fight, her assistant said quietly. I'm not trying to win, Lisa replied. We are trying to make them quit. There is a difference. Lunar surface automated defense platforms awakened. Humanity had seeded them across the moon's surface months ago, insurance against the exact scenario. Built into the lunar bedrock opened fire, launching projectiles at relativistic speeds. The solid metal slugs had no guidance systems, no fan technology. They were just math accelerated to near light speed. Confederation ships disintegrated when the slugs passed through them like they were made of paper. Weaponized their moon, roared. What kind of species does that? Kind that refused to lose, his tactical officer said, a note of respect creeping into his voice. Forces, all ships concentrate fire on the human defense platforms, eliminate their ground installations. He opened communications with his remaining fleet. Show no mercy, reduce their defense to roll. The Federation fleet began systematically targeting Earth's orbital platforms and lunar bases. The destruction was terrible. Thousands died in seconds. But for every human facility destroyed, more weapons came online. Hidden missile batteries, concealed, orbital weapons that humanity had built in secret, never admitting to the galactic community that they had already militarized space. River's ship took a direct hit that crippled its engines. Life support was failing, half his crew was dead, but he still had weapons. Remaining ships that is Rivers, we go on offense. If we are dying today, we take them with us. Inhuman vessels abandoned all defensive tactics. They charged into the alien formation like wolves among sheep, firing every weapon they had. Some ships exploded before reaching their targets. Others managed to inflict terrible damage before being destroyed. The battlefield became a chaotic melee where the Confederation's numerical advantage meant little. His tactical display and growing horror. He had lost 47 ships, 47, against primitive humans who should have been annihilated in the first hour. Or we should withdraw, his tactical officer suggested. Regroup and plan a better strategy. Withdraw, snarled. We outnumbered them 6-1. Outnumbered them 10-1 when we started, sir. Colfax silenced. He looked at the display again, really looked at it. The humans were losing, obviously. They had made 10 functional ships left, but they were still fighting, still attacking, still refusing to acknowledge defeat. What are they? He whispered. President Helen Foster received the casualty rewards. Over 8,000 dead. The lunar colonies were destroyed. The space stations were gone, but Earth's primary defenses were still intact. We'll come for the plant next, Jake Rivers said over the radio from his dying ship. Madam President, you need to evacuate population centers. They have orbital bombardment capability. Evacuate to where, Jake? Helen asked. They can hit anywhere on the planet. We make sure they pay for every shot, Jake replied. We still have ground-based defenses, anti-ship missiles that can reach orbit. If they want to destroy Earth, they will have to get close. And when they do, we will be waiting. The Confederation Council chamber, emergency alarms were sounding. Eldarin watched the battle feed in horror. This is madness. Was not authorized to attack Earth directly. Claims the humans fired first, another council member said weakly. As I snapped, she had returned to the council to plead for peace. I was there. We attacked their moon base. We killed civilians. This is our fault. Fault does not matter anymore, and said sadly. What matters is stopping it before it escalates further. But do we stop humans who will not surrender? Asked a council member. Activated the emergency beacon. We send peacekeepers now before it does something we can never take back. In the battle, Jake Rivers' ship finally lost all power. He floated in the dark, emergency lights flickering. Most of his crew was dead. The survivors were injured, but they were still monitoring communications. The alien fleet is moving toward Earth, his communications officer reported. They are going to bombard the surface. Felt cold rage settle over him. Get me any ship that can still move. I do not care how damaged. If it can fly, I need. Ships responded. 6 damaged, dying vessels crewed by people who knew they would not survive the day. As Rivers' final act run, we make them pay for every kilometer, for every person, for every child. His voice broke slightly. It has been an honor serving with all of you. History will remember what we did here today. Ships formed up and accelerated toward the Confederation fleet one last time. Saw them coming and laughed. 6 ships, 6. They are truly insane. As the human vessels approached, something changed. From Earth's surface, hundreds of missiles launched. Every ground-based anti-ship weapon on the planet fired simultaneously. The sky turned white with rock trail. Luffer died. Evasive action, all ships evasive. Missiles came in waves, crude by Confederation standards, but numerous beyond belief. The fleet's point defense systems were already strained from the prolonged battle. They could not stop them all. Rivers piloted his dying ship directly towards damaged flagship. His mission was simple, get close enough for one final strike. His last nuclear warhead was armed and ready. While him coming, target that ship, kill it. It was already too close. Energy beams tore through his veil, ripping it apart section by section. The bridge decompressed. His crew died around him, but Jake kept his hands on the controls, kept the ship on course even as the hull disintegrated around him. His last thought was of his daughter back on Earth. Your warhead detonated 50 meters from flagship. The explosion finally broke through the weakened shields and tore through the ship's core. Secondary explosions rippled through the vessel. Ran for the escape pods as his flagship died around him. Made it barely. His pod ejected seconds before the ship exploded. He floated in space, watching his fleet scatter and regroup. They had lost over 80 ships, 80 against a primitive species with no space warfare experience. He heard the transmission from the Confederate Council. Peacekeeping forces were arriving. The Council ordered immediate ceasefire was to surrender himself to human custody. Surrender whispered to them. As he watched the human ships limp back toward Earth, damaged and dying but still defiant, the Confederate and peacekeeping fleet arrived at Earth 3 days after the battle ended. Eldarin himself led the delegation, an unprecedented move that showed how seriously the Council took the situation. His ships entered the solar system broadcasting peace signals and with weapons powered down. On a scene of devastation, wreckage flowed everywhere. Damaged human ships limped back to Earth. Confederation vessels drifted powerless, their crews waiting for rescue. And among the debris, thousands of bodies from both sides rotated slowly in the cold bay. Shocked and most was what the humans were doing. Ships from Earth moved through the wreckage, searching for survivors. They rescued their own people, yes, but they also rescued alien survivors. Human doctors treated wounded Confederation soldiers. Human engineers repaired damaged alien vessels so their life support would not fail. Human rescue workers risked their lives to save enemies who had been trying to kill them days before. Ian whispered as he watched the footage. Why show mercy to those who should you none? Stora stood beside him on the bridge. She had volunteered to return to Earth as part of the peace delegation. Because they are human, she said quietly. They fight like demons when threatened, but they do not enjoy killing. That is what makes them different from their ancient ancestors. They learned to balance their violence with compassion. Orbital space was a hive of activity. Every nation on the planet had sent ships, supplies, and personnel to help with the recovery effort. Leah Monroe coordinated the search and rescue operations from the rebuilt space station. She had worked for 72 hours without sleep. Found another survivor in Sector 7, a rescue team reported. Confederation crew member, badly injured but alive. Them to medical immediately, Lisa ordered, and someone find out their species biology so we can treat them properly. And Helen Foster met Elder and delegation at the same landing site where I had first made contact. The destroyed lunar base was still visible in the night sky, a grim reminder of how the piece had shattered. Armed soldiers surrounded the area, but they kept their weapons lowered. Cross stood beside Helen, his face showing the exhaustion they all felt. Next to him was Colonel Jake Rivers' daughter, Susan, wearing her father's uniform. Jake had not survived the battle. His sacrifice had saved countless lives, but that did not make his death easier to bear. Descended from his ship, moving carefully in Earth's heavy gravity, he wore full ceremonial robes and carried no weapons. As he approached the human delegation, he performed a gesture of deep respect from his culture, bowing his entire upper body. Eldarin of the Galactic Confederation Council, he said, I come bearing the profound apologies of my people. What was done to you was wrong, it was evil, and I am here to ensure justice served. Studied the old Aeon carefully. Your general started a war that killed over 12,000 of my people. He destroyed our lunar colonies. He murdered civilians. Apologies will not bring them back. Owen agreed, nothing will bring them back, but I can offer you something else, truth, and the opportunity to ensure this never happens again. The next weekend shared everything with Earth's leaders, the ancient history of humanity, the ruins scattered across the galaxy, the archaeological evidence of human civilization spanning thousands of worlds 5,000 years ago, and most importantly, the reason humanity had vanished. And Cross listened to it all in stunned silence. We did that before. We were already a spacefaring species. Or more than that, and said, you were the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever seen, and then you chose to give it all up and return to Earth. The message you left said you were not ready for the responsibility. Moreau studied the ancient human artifacts and showed them, technology far beyond anything modern humans had developed. Why did we forget? Why is there no record of this in our history? 1,000 years is a very long time, and explained. Civilizations rise and fall. Ice ages come and go. The humans who returned to Earth probably told their children stories of the stars, but eventually those stories became myths, then legends, then forgotten entirely. The genetics remained, Lee said, understanding dawning. Our biology, our adaptations, our ability to survive on this deadly world. That is why we are different from other species. And confirmed, you evolved here, but your ancestors also deliberately enhanced themselves for space travel. That enhancement was passed down through your DNA. It is why you can survive accelerations that would kill my people. Why your immune systems are so aggressive. Why you heal so quick. Olive General was held in a neutral location, the partially rebuilt lunar base. The symbolism was deliberate. 47 people had died here, and their names were carved into a memorial wall visible from the courtroom. In the defendant's chair, his expression carefully blank, judges from both Earth and the Confederation presided. Martin Cross served as the primary prosecutor. Attack civilians, Martin said during his opening statement. You killed children, you started a war based on fear and prejudice, and when humans defended themselves, you were surprised by their ferocity. You should not have been. We told you we came in peace. That did not mean we did not know how to. It's argued that he had acted to protect the Confederation from a potential threat, that humanity's violent history and dangerous biology made them too risky to allow in space. Rivers took the stand to describe watching her father die in battle. He did not want to fight, she said, tears streaming down her face. He wanted peace. He wanted to explore the stars, but you gave him no choice. You killed our people, so he gave his life to protect Earth. And even as he died, his last order was to show mercy to your survivors. That is what humanity is. We fight when we must, but we never forget our. Our lasted 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Was found guilty on all charges. The sentence was controversial, life in service to humanity, helping rebuild what he had destroyed. Do not understand, said when the sentence was announced. I killed your people, why not execute me? Cross approached the defendant's chair. Because we are not you. We do not kill defeated enemies. We give them the chance to become better. You will spend the rest of your life helping humans and aliens work together. You will see firsthand that we are not the monsters you believed us to be. And maybe, eventually, you will understand why we chose mercy over vengeance. And at Martin, then at the human guards who would escort him. For the first time, he felt something he had never expected to feel toward humans, shame. Federation Council held an emergency vote regarding Earth's application for membership. The debate was intense. Some argued that humanity was too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. Others argued that humanity had demonstrated exactly the qualities the Confederation valued, courage, resilience, and the ability to choose peace even after suffering grievous harm. And cast the deciding vote. I vote to accept Earth's application, not despite their capacity for violence, but because they have proven they can control it. They could have pursued our fleet and sought vengeance. They did not. They could have executed. They did not. They showed us that true strength is not about how hard you can hit, but about choosing when not. Vote passed unanimously. Earth became the member of the Galactic Confederation. Like months saw an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and culture. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers to understand the ancient human ruins scattered across the galaxy. Lita Monroe led an expedition to the nearest site, an abandoned colony world where human cities had stood empty for. Strange, she said to us as they explored the ruins together. Walking through a city my ancestors built, they were us, but they were also different. They had capabilities we are only beginning to read. They had capabilities, but they lacked wisdom, I replied. That is why they left. Your ancient ancestors understood they needed to mature before they could responsibly use such power. Modern humanity has earned that wisdom through suffering. Technology began integrating with Confederation science. Human adaptability and creativity combined with alien knowledge to produce innovations neither could achieve alone. Medical treatments, engineering solutions, and artistic collaborations flourished. The most important change was psychological. The galaxy had feared the return of humanity. Now they saw humans as they truly were, a species that had survived a brutal world and emerged not broken, but stronger and more compassionate for the experience. Cross was elected as Earth's representative to the Confederation Council. His first mayor's speech addressed the assembled leaders of hundreds of worlds. Grateful for your acceptance, Martin said. We know our history makes some of you nervous. We know our biology makes us different. We know ours is deadly by your standards, but we ask you to judge us not by our capacity for violence, but by our choices. We chose to save our enemies. We chose to show mercy when vengeance would have been easier. We chose to look toward the future instead of dwelling on the past. That is who humanity is. That is who we will. The chamber erupted in applause from dozens of different species, each showing approval in their own way. Year after first contact, a memorial was unveiled at the site of the battle. It bore the names of every person who died, human and alien alike. No distinction was made between the two. They were simply listed as those who fell. Inscription read in every language. We were enemies for days. We will be allies for centuries. We will be family forever. Rivers attended the ceremony in her father's uniform, now as a captain in the newly formed Earth Confederation Joint Defense Force. Attended as well, under guard but present. He had spent the year helping rebuild the lunar base, working alongside the families of those he had killed. The memorial was unveiled soon, found herself standing next to. They had not spoken since the trial. Now they stood in silence looking at her father's name carved in stone. His face every night, said quietly. Captain Rivers and all the others, I understand now what I did. I saw humans as threats instead of people. I was wrong. Did not respond immediately. Then she reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. My father believed that even enemies could become friends. That is why he ordered mercy when he could have ordered vengeance. Maybe that is why humans are different. We remember that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally. But his head, tears falling. They were from different species, from different worlds, and had been enemies. But in that moment, they were simply two people mourning the cost of war and hiding for a better future. His first diplomatic mission to another world launched a month later. Leah Monroe led a team of scientists, artists, and ambassadors to the Confederation capital. As their ship engaged faster-than-light travel for the first time, Leah looked back at the blue marble of Earth shrinking behind them. "We are going back to the stars," she whispered, "but this time we are ready." She had trembled when humans were discovered. They had feared the return of ancient conquerors. Instead, they found something far more powerful, a species that had learned to balance strength with kindness, ferocity with mercy, and pride with humility. Humanity had finally come home to the stars, and the cosmos was better for it. Later, Eldrin stood before the council as he prepared to retire after 3,000 years of service. His final act was to officially designate Earth as a protected world, ensuring no one would ever threaten humanity's again. Seen empires rise and fall, and said, "I have witnessed species achieve greatness and others fall to mediocrity, but I have never seen anything like humanity. They came from a world that should have destroyed them. They survived a history that should have broken them, and they emerged with hearts still capable of hope and hands still willing to help. The ancient humans gave up the stars because they were not ready. These humans have earned their place. Do not accept them into our confederation. They make our confederation better simply by being part of it." On Earth, children looked up at the night sky with wonder. The stars were no longer unreachable dreams. They were destinations, promises, homes waiting to be discovered. Humanity, having trembled the cosmos once with fear, would now shake it with hope. The message Earth had left 50,000 years ago had finally been answered. The stars were ready, and so was humanity. A future was waiting. These were not primitives. These were the apex predators the ancient texts had warned about. These were the humans who had once ruled the stars and had chosen to give it up. They had not forgotten how to fight. They had simply chosen not to. Till someone gave them no choice. Against his surrender, the battle was over, but the consequences were just beginning. Response was every weapon system on the planet powering up simultaneously. The galaxy was about to witness something it had not seen in 50,000 years, humanity at war. The cosmos remembered why it had learned to tremble. The first time in 50,000 years, humans and the Confederation were about to meet face to face. Neither side knew that ancient prophecies had predicted them on. Neither side understood that what happened next would change the galaxy forever. Only certainty was that nothing would ever be the same again.